You're listening to the Global Travel Channel podcast show, a podcast that shares travel experiences from across the world. Your host for the show is Mark Philpott, ex-global corporate executive, philanthropist, publisher, filmmaker, sportsman, and serial traveler. Mark sits down with guests from across the world and talks about their up-close and personal travel experiences. And we get to understand how travel changes people's lives. Here's your host, Mark Philpott.
Hello everyone, my name's Mark Philpott and welcome to the Global Travel Channel podcast show. It's great to have you here. Welcome aboard my sailboat. Yes, I'm coming to you from the live at sea today. It's wonderful being out here and it's wonderful talking to you again and meeting another fabulous guest on the Global Travel Channel podcast show. Today we're going to talk about global travel with a man that comes from a country that not many of you have probably been to. Yes, we'll find out all about that right now as we get over and meet my guest for today. And his name is Berny Martin. So it's a very warm welcome to the Global Travel Channel podcast show to Mr. Berny Martin. Berny, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me and excited to be on your show. Thank you.
You're welcome, and it's very nice of you to be here. How are you today? Is everything okay in your side of the world?
Everything is somewhat interesting, for a list of better words, you know.
Yeah. You better tell people whereabouts in the world you're talking to us from today, so they know.
Yeah, definitely. I am located currently in southern Indiana, a small town by the name of Evansville, Indiana, right there by the borderline of Kentucky and Illinois. So it's a small town, compared to where I grew up was Brooklyn, New York. So definitely it's a different mentality, lifestyle, and culture for me.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, we're going to talk a bit about that a little bit later on, but I like to give all my guests the opportunity to dedicate their podcast show to someone special in their life. So who would you like to dedicate your show to today?
My kids. I have two sons.
Brilliant.
And they're very young right now. They're not aware of anything that's going on. We're talking about the youngest is 2 years old and the oldest is 4 years old. And if in the future they would like to hear what dad had to say about travel. And
look, I'm sure they will. As soon as they're old enough, I'm sure they'll be sitting down with you listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I would like to encourage them and motivate them to what the world has to offer when it comes to traveling, and what a beauty that does exist outside of your home, you know?
Yeah, exactly right. That's so true. Well, that's a beautiful dedication. What are your boys' names?
Alex and Teddy. Teddy short for Theodore.
Oh, fantastic. So Teddy and Alex. And Theodore's a very famous name, of course, yeah?
Yeah. I will have to thank my wife for that. That did not come from me.
Very cool. Well, I wish them all the very best, and I'm sure once they're old enough to listen to this, they'll be very proud of their father, first of all, for dedicating the show to them, and secondly, all the things that you're going to share with us today. So thank you for doing that.
Yes.
So tell us, you're not obviously originally from Indianapolis. Where were you born?
I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Haiti?
Yes. Wow. I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti during the Duvalier regime,
right.
know, and I said that because a lot of time for people that are born in Haiti, there's different era, and different era means different thing for them, you know. And so for me, when I was born, I was kind of during the the last regime of the Duvalier, the son. So it was a transition period, and of course, by the time he came out of power, I was old enough to understand or see exactly took place. No one was telling me what was taking place.
Right. Yeah, understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, my memory of Haiti is very vivid, of the goods and the bad and the unfortunate, the less fortunate, and so on and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. Now, a lot of people listening today around the world, and we're going to 99 countries around the world today. A lot of people, I would suspect, don't know exactly where Haiti is. So can you give us a bit of a geography lesson and tell us exactly where Haiti is?
Yes, Haiti is located right in between. It shares the island of the Dominican Republic on the east, and we occupy the west side of the island. On north, we are south of Cuba, and on the west, we have Jamaica, and part of the Caribbean islands.
Okay, so fantastic location in the world. And for some history, or for some people that don't know too much about Haiti, it actually took its independence in 1804, and it was the second country behind the United States to free itself from colonial rule. I believe it was originally founded by the French at that time, and as you say, it has a very checkered background. About 11 million people live in Haiti today, so the population is quite large for a small place.
Yes.
And I'd like to know, Bernie, what was it like growing up in Haiti?
My parents did all they could for me and my sister to have what you call a middle class family. My dad actually was a very well traveled man, businessman in the Caribbean. He would often go to other Caribbean islands to buy goods and come back to Haiti and resell it. And my mom, on the other hand, was a school teacher for a long period of time. And then, of course, that did not work too well. So she began the journey as well to be I like to call it a travel maid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but what is it exactly? How do you define a tribal maid?
She literally was working at other people's houses, cleaning and doing all kind of things.
Okay, yeah.
And from islands to islands, yeah. And it wasn't because she was not educated or anything like that, like people like to often thought was, but it's just Haiti at the time did not offer much for women, especially if you're a very educated woman. You often have to end up marrying somebody that is a well-to-do man, which would be the case, or you have a family business, you definitely take over, or you run a business of your own,
Right.
So it was definitely a challenging time as a young woman married to my dad. They both were traveling, and that's how I somewhat left behind under the care of my grandparents.
Right.
To supervise me, to care for my education, and then, oh my God, I had tremendous help from my other uncles and aunties and so on to help me with everything.
Aren't grandparents the best thing ever?
Oh my God, I can't begin to describe them.
I think I have a conversation with everybody on my show about grandparents. It always comes up how influential and important grandparents are in our journeys.
Yes.
And it sounds like it was the same for you as well.
Yeah, and what they offer me was something that I can't ever, even if I have a chance to write it in a book, I don't think I can ever stop writing. The way they channel me to life, and we are talking about two people. Well, my grandmother, first of all, she did not know how to read and write. Uh, and my grandfather, he knows numbers. I think that was it. He knows numbers. He did not know how to read or write. He know how to count and how to, because he was a carpenter, a very skilled one. Matter of fact, he used to work for the National Palace of Haiti.
Right.
Yeah, in the prison. He knows all the generals, all the bad guys, all the good guys. He knew all of them.
Yeah. Right.
And I remember when I was old enough, I asked him, "How did you manage to keep that job? Keep quiet." That's what he said. He kept his mouth shut. Yeah, he kept his mouth shut and basically followed through the orders of what he was told to do, and that was it. He
Very
never,
good advice. Very smart man. Very smart man.
And that's and then for him it was like I had to care my kids and feed my kids. Yeah.
So what about your kind of hobbies and that when you were a kid in Haiti? Were you running around the streets playing football, or were there other things to do?
No, there were plenty of other things. Not only we had an abundance of cousins to play with, I had the opportunity to go to some of the best schools in Haiti. So therefore I had access to a lot of things that, at that time I never knew that I was living the life. Does that make sense? I was living a upper class lifestyle. I remember my grandmother used to take me to soccer practice, basketball practice. We had art classes. We used to go to museum, art fair, you name it. Circus. I did all those things. It's not until I moved to the United States when I was about 14, going to 15 years of age, when I understood the differences in the Haitian culture between the have and the have not,
Yeah, that's extraordinary. Now, in 2010, an earthquake devastated your country, and it's taken a long time, I guess, still to this day, to get back on the feet. So what is the situation in Haiti today, 10 years after that earthquake?
From what I understand now, I have several of my friends that went back and volunteer not only their time but also their services in respect to all kind of field. So from what I understand, it's been a uphill battle to even consider rebuilding some of the things that were lost. Part of it has to do with a lot of greed, both foreign and domestic individuals that have manipulated or take advantage of so many of the resources that these people probably did not even have from the beginning, and now they saw that opportunity of as an opportunity to make their entry as a business. People do sometimes, taking advantage of the situation, unfortunately,
Yeah. So devastation brings out the good and the worst in people, I guess.
Exactly. Bring the good and the worst of people. Yes, it has tremendously helped a few, but at the same time, a lot of places you go still in Haiti, they are still living that lifestyle of after the earthquake. Yes.
Yeah, that's a real shame. Well, we're all starting to slowly come out of lockdown around the world in different stages, and it won't be too long before we're flying internationally again and going on holidays and things. So why don't we spend a couple of minutes trying to promote Haiti as a tourist destination? So what are the best tourist things to do when we visit Haiti?
I would definitely encourage people to visit Cape Haitian or Cap Haiti. It's located on the north of Haiti with the fort of Citadel, which is, oh my god, such a beautiful view. It's sitting on top of a mountain overlooking the bay and with the Caribbean Sea and off the coast, uh, facing north of Cuba. Basically, you're looking over the water. You know.
Right. It sounds like a place where I should be doing my podcast from.
Yes, yes. A matter of fact, there was a group of individuals that I know did the bike mountain biking in the
Yeah.
region. That was a very popular thing to do in that area for a while. I'm not sure what what's going on now. I've not been in touch with them for some years, but it was a great place to do mountain biking. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go, all the mountain bikers listening today. Check out Haiti and see what's happening in the mountain bike scene. So other than the Cape, whereabouts? What else do we
Oh,
go
the
to see in
ocean.
Haiti?
Oh, the ocean. Oh my gosh. Yes. That is everywhere you go. There's water everywhere. The beautiful reefs. And I remember as a kid, I used to be in Scout, Boy Scout.
Yep.
And they used to go and take us deep water fishing also and things
Yep.
like that. And the beautiful coral reef and the fish and the breeze, the water was warm all year long. There's no shortage of that, and it's a nice, I would say, good 80 plus degree of warm water.
Wow, that's beautiful. So it's good for scuba diving and
Yes,
snorkeling and fishing as well?
and fishing, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so plenty of things to do. What's the best time of the year, would you say, to visit Haiti?
That's probably my personal choice. I know other Haitian can argue some other times. I love going there during winter time, and
Okay.
just because the weather is not as hot. The humidity is low as well, so it's a nice, great balance of windy winds as well, and you don't really need air conditioner or fan to cool you off. It's a nice breeze going through the island for the next, I would say, good 3 months out of the year around that time.
So we're talking about November through January,
Yeah.
February, are we?
Yes. November
Okay.
through, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense to be there when it's a little bit cooler.
Yes.
You don't have to rely on that AC of cooling you down. What type of holiday do people have? Is it a good place for a family to go as a holiday destination?
Depends on how would I describe that? That's a great question. Haiti as a holiday for kids may not be suitable at the current political situation at the moment now. However, there are resorts that they do a great job of securing the area and being away from all the political stuff that's going on there. However, I must say also the political situation usually do not affect the tourism trade, I would like to call it, between Haiti and the rest of the world. It seems to be they know how to differentiate the two.
Right.
I'm not sure how to describe it, to give you a picture. But yeah, it would have to be once you're there, you are there, and you definitely can experience being in Haiti as a tourist.
Yeah.
As long as you're not mangled into the political stuff of Haiti, you'll be fine.
Okay, so the locals stick to their local issues and the tourists can have a nice time when they come.
Exactly. And I've been there a few times myself for different reasons. And everybody's there. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So, what's the easiest way to get there from a flying perspective? Do you go through Miami as a major gateway to get
Yes.
down to Haiti, or that's the
Yes.
best way?
Yeah, that
Right,
would be the best way and the fastest way. It's a short trip for about an hour or so
right,
from Miami International Airport to Port-au-Prince. It takes
yeah,
about a good 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah.
right. Okay, so there you go, listeners. If you're wanting to get to Haiti and check it out, which I suggest you do, it's a beautiful Caribbean island. Then fly through Miami International to get down there, and why not have a day or two in Miami on the way as well and check it all out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, we can't talk about Haiti without talking about the food, Bernie. So why don't you tell us about the food in Haiti?
The food is yeah, it's Creole, okay, and what I mean by that, it's a mix. It's a mix because I travel so much around the globe, so therefore I somewhat can relate to a lot of varieties of food groups. So some places I've been, so it's not spicy as far as like hot spicy. It's a flavorful spice, you know.
Yeah.
And come to find out, Haiti, because of its diverse background of ethnic groups that came through Haiti. So therefore, one of the things that was left is definitely food. As you know it, people when they travel, the first
Yeah.
imprint they make is food. And of course, there's some other cultural trend they will leave behind, but food is definitely was identically a staple of within the Haitian culture. So, having said that, the Haitian of food is a mix between very much a French cuisine and
Yep.
also Spanish, okay,
Right.
and with a African influence, and also Arabs and Asian, and so I will say Southeast Asian predominantly, not Korean or I would say Southeast Asian
Right.
flavor, because there's a lot, or East Indian I should say too, because of the use of the coconuts and and so on. So because of that, you will find a mix and little bit of everything, but the way the culture mix everything make it perfect.
I like the way that you described Creole because a lot of people kind of immediately think that it's spicy, and it's not. It's like you said, it's more with the spices induced in it, right?
Exactly.
And then that makes it different. So don't get put off when you hear the word Creole that you think it's going to be hot and spicy all the
No,
time, because it's not true.
no.
Yeah.
Compare when you go to uh,
Mexico.
Mexico. Yeah, exactly. Where there's a lot of hot spice.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Yeah.
that. It's mostly like garlic, cloves, ginger, and parsley, things like that that make the food very. I can just. I'm starting salivating right now.
I am
Yeah,
too. I'm
yeah.
glad you said that. I am too. Well, listen, thank you for giving us a great overview on your country of Haiti. And my goal is to get as many people who are listening to the show today to book a ticket and get over there and enjoy the beautiful Caribbean islands and, check out the food in Haiti. It sounds amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about your travel experiences now. And do you remember the first time you went overseas from Haiti?
While I was living in Haiti, or when I was.
Yeah, when you were living there, your first overseas trip.
My first overseas trip was visiting my parents in Brooklyn, New York, for the first time.
Wow. How
And
old were you then? 14, were you?
yeah, I was 14 years old.
So
And
that must have been a huge experience for you to go to New York City when you were 14 from Haiti.
yes. And I remember as soon as we landed in JFK at the time, the overwhelming sea of people. Does that make sense? The action, the light,
Yeah.
the commotion, the everything is on the go. You know, versus prior to that, it was Haiti is like mostly very chaos during the day with the traffic jam and everything, and after 7 p.m., pretty much everything shut down.
Right. Right.
Okay, versus you go in New York and that is 24/7. I couldn't understand why a country is functioning 24/7. And
So what was your expectation in terms of, you must have had some, television exposure and stuff to New York City before you left to go and visit there. When you actually arrived there and you experienced this, did it just blow your mind in
Yes.
terms of the...
yeah, basically it was whatever you saw on TV was time 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, of course you saw the big buildings, but you don't have any perspective about how big are those buildings, how tall they are until you're there. And then I remember the first time I got into an elevator and I'm looking down like, holy crap. I'm like, wow, this is very high. And my mom used to tell me, no, don't look down, just go and mind your own business and stuff like that. Yeah.
So as a teenage boy in New York, it must have really inspired you in a lot of ways, did it? Did it give you... It's a city that gives you a lot of energy, isn't it?
Yeah, Coney Island.
Yeah.
Coney Island
exactly.
was my number go-to place. Can you guess why?
Yeah, the ice cream.
No, no, the beach. The
I
ocean.
always say the ice cream at Coney Island's brilliant.
Yeah, Coney Island is a beach town in the south of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I used to take the train and go there every day. When my parents would go to work, and making sure that I was back in time. And I remember the first time I went, and my cousin took me there, and she showed me where to get off, because I did not understand the term uptown and downtown.
Right. Right.
When you take the train uptown, that means you're going toward the city. When you take the train down, it means you're going toward Brooklyn. So I got lost a few times, of course, but that's how I learned how to operate the train station. And then from there, I began enjoying the video games slats that were all along the coast of the boardwalk of Coney Island.
Coney Island, yeah. So that was your go-to place when you first arrived in New York?
Yeah, that was my holy place, I would like to call it. That was my place of a way to feel at peace or at home, I would like to describe it, because that was the only thing that somewhat remind me of home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. How easy was it to make friends and connect with people in New York?
Not easy, because at first English wasn't our first language. We learned in Haiti, the first language is Creole, is the native tongue, and then from there you learn how to speak French when you go to school, and then from there you, as a curriculum, as you're about to graduate high school, you have about 3 different choices when it comes to other languages you could learn. One of them was English, Spanish, and German. So
German. Okay.
yes. So therefore, for me, I remember I used to take English courses. I was interested in English because I knew at some point I will end up in the United States because of my parents. That's where they were living.
Right.
And so it was not easy to make friends in the beginning. However, there were enough other Caribbeans that live in the section where I grew up in Brooklyn that I became quickly friends with. And from there, in high school, I went to high school in Brooklyn. and that's how I became mostly popular with the kids around the neighborhood or in the school that I went to, which is Erasmus Hall.
Well, let's face it, New York City is a pretty difficult place, and it really is a place where I guess it sorts people out, doesn't it? You know, the strongest survive in New York City. That's really what it comes down to. What do you think about that?
It is, and it's not so much to say bad things about New Yorkers. It's just that the city give you another aspiration of life that you probably would never get a chance to experience. You know, the true belief of survival of the fittest. I would like to say yes. I think New Yorkers probably invented that word. I know they did not, but I'm just saying.
It's such an amazing place, though. You know, it's where people go to make their dreams come true, really, isn't it?
Yes, it's just the culture, the atmosphere, there's so much commotion going on, and the way you carry yourself is what really gonna determine your survival. And you have to be a quick thinker, you know. You have to be on your feet. You have to be always guarded, and that's why sometimes people sees it as a threat, or maybe they are too tough, or so on.
So when did you leave New York City and go to Indiana?
Shortly after graduating high school, my dad moved to Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's how. And then a year later, he came back and said, "Oh, the whole family is moving." Period. He did, yes, and not that we wanna. At the time, I never understood why the move and things like that. But the guy was somewhat pretty smart in his decisions, because at the time too, New York was really not a good place to raise a family. You know, looking back now that I have two sons, there's no way I would have been a happy father living in that situation. At that time, and we're talking about 1990s here in New York City. If you Google it, you'll find some very horrifying stuff.
When did you start thinking about traveling and exploring the world? When did that first, I guess, when did that mindset first start to really connect with you? Was there a moment in your life where that particularly happened to you?
When I was in college in Indiana, as I begin my journey of being a college student, and you start meeting other international students. I had friends, they were studying from Germany, they were in our school to take extra curriculum, and so on and so on. France, you name it, they were all there. And it began to form a general idea in my head, you know. There must be more out there for me, you know. And then I remember also my dad used to push me and he used to challenge me, matter of fact, since I was in high school, to go out of my home, my surrounding, and try to experience other things, you know. And part of it was for me, I inherited that from him, you know. I always curious to see what else is out there, what else is out there, what else is out there. And some of my first trip was in Paris with a group of friends, and then we went to help another friend of mine in the Dominican Republic to build houses. And then from there went to Africa on several occasions, and several times in Asia, and so on. Yes, I would say, yeah, that definitely encouraged my path.
What inspired you all to go to Paris in France? What was the motivation to go to that particular destination?
It was, you know, listen, it may sound like a joke to you, but for us, it was about money. You know, it was right after 9/11. We're talking about, let me see, 9/11 happened September, and a friend of mine, it was the three or four of us all together that left and went. He was looking at the tickets. He was like, the tickets are not bad. And at the time, I think it was like $200 airline tickets flying back. Because remember, after 9/11, the fear was don't get on an airplane. You remember that? So he bought the ticket for us. That's how cheap it was. He bought the ticket for us, for all four of us. And then he said, we'll figure out the hotel situation. And then he said, we gotta go. It was that cheap. So, and then from there, we stopped in London. We spent 2 or 3 days in London, which was one of the best time of my life. And hung out in Piccadilly Circus, and just party our butt up. Like, we're talking about 22-year-old black guys, all four of us. If I begin to tell you the story, you're gonna laugh. Uh, yeah, we were. Oh my God, we were like four black guys looking as if we were superstars the way we were dressed. In some point, I remember being in Piccadilly Circus. People thought we were from Hollywood, asking us for autograph because one of our friends, he looked like Joe, the R&B singer, and he did. And people thought that it was Joe, the R&B singer, and we kept telling people, "No, we're not Joe. Leave us alone." And people kept coming, asking for autograph. So yeah, I never understood the meaning of being a superstar, what it felt like, and why a superstar run away until that time. And then since then, whenever I see TV shows or when stars are running away, yeah, I get a connection to that. Although we were not even related to Joe at all, we don't have no connection to the guy, poor guy. So we love Paris. We were in and out of some of those beautiful locations of Paris, like the Eiffel Towers, the food, the crepe, the everything, the nightclubs. Yes.
Do you think traveling at that age you got to appreciate everything in the scale it was, or do you think that you were too much focused on having a lot of fun and partying and things like that? Because I think it's really interesting how we look at that and whether we miss out on some of the opportunities. So was there both of those things going on, or one or the other for you?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. And the reason I say that, when you're young and all you can think of is like, how much fun can I get? You don't really appreciate the architectural design. There's no time for that. You see it's a different timeline. Does that make sense? Like, for instance, when I go to Paris now, I pay attention to every little details. Maybe it has to do with my career, maybe not, but I start appreciating how the roads are paved, how the tunnels are made, and I'm starting asking questions. Why? Who made those tunnels? Why was it designed that way? Oh my God! Look at the entry, and versus the first time I went to Paris, it was like, oh my God, I'm in Paris. Let's party. Let's have a drink. Let's meet people. uh, Oh yes, I saw the Eiffel Tower. It's great. It's beautiful. Let's keep moving.
I think it's really interesting how we kind of have a different appreciation depending on what age we are when we travel. And I think as we get older, we start to appreciate places a lot more. We see them for different things than what we do perhaps when we were younger. And I think that's a really fascinating aspect of travel and how we see different places around the world depending on the age we are when we actually go and visit them. Would you agree with that?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you begin to feel more encouraged, I would say, as maybe as I'm getting older, maybe I will have a different type of appreciation of what's being displayed or the conversation you're having. You know, yeah.
Cities are reinventing themselves so regularly, and you can go there 1 year and go back 5 years later, or 10 years, or even 15 or 20, and the cities have changed so much. There's so much going on as far as innovation in cities. And I remember when I used to travel different places and go back and go, oh gosh, the city's changed so much since I was here last time.
Absolutely. And Paris is one of them. And I remember the Paris that I visited in 2001, yes. And the Paris of 2020 is very different.
Okay, you've been to a lot of places around the world, but has there been one place in particular that has really stood out for you on your travels around the world?
It has to be Cambodia, Angkor Wat.
How long were you
I
there?
was there for a full week, a week. And Angkor Wat is one of those places where it kind of like give you the perspective of time and humanity. Does that make sense? And how men and women interaction with holy site and earth and paradise and because I don't know if you knew, but Angkor Wat is somewhat a not somewhat it is a temple, you know, and you can only imagine what was going on around that temple around that time, you know, because I'm sure it was allowed for people to come in and come out. It was probably in a servitude to so many different things, and for me, the how everything is carved with perfection, you know, and it makes you. It's one of those places that make you ask questions, you know, the ability of men, you know, if men are capable to do that, what was it in the 12th century? It makes you realize, well, what's going on today? Exactly. So it one of those places. It make you question so much. And I remember sitting there, and I had so many questions. And of course, there's a bunch of people outside the site. There are vendors and so on. And I remember they used to call me Obama. And then let me tell you why that resonated with me in a way. And and I'm not turning your show here to a political scene here, by the way. It's just that how people have a perception of people based on what they see on TV. Does that make sense? So because they knew I was a black American, so they automatically they used to call me Obama. Where's Obama? And I'm sitting there. I'm like, my name is not Obama. I'm Bernie Martin. They used to they don't really care about Bernie Martin. They care about calling me Obama. So I was like, okay, I'm Obama. you know.
Could have been worse. They could have called you Bill Cosby.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, they could have. But it just showed you how the world is connected through a TV or something, and it make you realize how when you live your life, and how your life can be a positive reflection in order for people to have a positive narrative about even your entire generation that foreseen or to come, you know.
Did you do any research before you went to Cambodia to find out what the country was all about?
Nothing. I didn't know anything about Cambodia. Matter of fact, I went to Angkor Wat the day I flew in. They told me, "Oh, we're gonna go to Angkor Wat." The whole time I'm like, "What the heck is Angkor Wat?" That everybody seemed to be so passionate about. They want to go. I said, "Okay, let's go," because I was invited there by a family, and they took us in, and then it was one of the best time that I've been there. And the second location, I must say, that Trent definitely have a huge impact on me is definitely has to do with Zimbabwe, and that I automatically, because for us in what I like to call it the African diaspora or Black Americans, we don't have a positive image of what Africa is. All we know is what we heard or what we seen. Or despite so many Black Americans have been to Africa and come back and tell us different story, we don't have that connection.
Bernie, you have to check out a podcast I've done with a wonderful lady from Zimbabwe. Her name is Dot Becker, and she's like the tourist ambassador unofficial of Zimbabwe. She's so proud of her country, and she's an amazing lady. And I will send you the link after the show for you to listen to about her wonderful country of Zimbabwe. She took us last time on a virtual tour around the country to all the amazing spots that has to offer in that country. And a lot of people, I think, will be booking tickets to go to Zimbabwe when they can, because it really is the jewel in the crown of Africa. That's what I think anyway.
Oh, yes, definitely. I can vouch for that one.
So let's get back to Cambodia and tell us a bit more about your trip there and going to Angkor Wat.
Yeah, we went to Angkor. It's the same visit, and the food, the culture, the kids. Oh my, the smile, the welcomeness there. How everybody seemed to be open their doors for you. And of course that was 2013, so I'm not sure if any of that have changed for any reason, but it was a breaking into the from what I understand, there was a lot of investment being made in Cambodia at the time to change the tourism industry, especially the villages that were outside of Angkor Wat, because Angkor Wat was becoming more and more very much a number one destination in Southeast Asia.
I think we all need to be conscious, or more conscious travellers than perhaps what we are, because going to these developing nations, there's always the danger that we turn these countries inadvertently into Western societies, and that's not always a good thing.
There's always gonna be a flip on in everything. People gonna look for profit. I'm a businessman as well. So the way I look at it, we should spend more time to educate the local people, and the local people should spend more time and invest their time also to educate not only the foreign companies, okay, that are investing into those locations, and see how they can find a sustainable balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really about getting that sustainability consciousness absolutely spot on. And that can be very, very difficult to do, you know. And again, I think it also comes back to the age we are when we travel. That has a big impact on it all.
Absolutely, and absolutely. And on a sad truth of that, of course, when I was in Cambodia, I mean, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say it on your show, but there's definitely the aspect of that negativity was there. Does that make sense? And it is in plain sight. And of course, some of it angered me, but you have to understand that part of that was also embedded into the culture there because of their poverty. So my question is always, what can the local government, you know, can they at least help in creating a sustainable bridge, okay, where everybody could be happy, you know? Because let's face it, there's no way someone gonna invest millions, if not billions of dollars, and then looking at it say, you know what, I don't want to have a return, you know, and that's the ugly truth of capitalism, you know. And at the same time, can we go in and say to the local, I tell you what, why don't you have a say so into this? Let's communicate. Let's have a better objective. I think it can be done. Will it take a longer process? Probably yes. But can it be a longer term? Yes. And that's what I would like to say about that. You know, at the end of the day, ideas are flourishing. Ideas are worth investing. It's just how we go about to manage those ideas and investment is where the trouble comes in, you know?
Yeah, and of course, we're not singling out Cambodia as the only country facing this problem in the world when it comes to tourism. And I think if you look at a lot of other places, the impact is both significant and obvious in lots of different countries around the world.
Exactly. And then, as you know, that what we're talking about here, it spills over all the way to the neighborhood of Thailand and in all the neighborhood countries as well, you know. But if you're looking at deep inside the investors and people that are in it, you could have a very much a progressive conversation, you know, and seek the truth of the matter. You know, it can be done. It just, in my opinion, I don't think the conversation is going there.
Yeah, I agree. That's something we can all do a lot better. And now let's talk about food, glorious food. Where have you been where your taste buds have been ignited and excited by the different cuisines that you've tried around the world? Is there one that sticks out in particular?
Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand. It is a place, the food is magical. I would like to describe it because, you know, you have the street food and then you have restaurant food, and then you have those I don't know, what do you call them, those the shack restaurants on the street corners, the shack restaurant, which is very authentic but at the same time very different from the restaurant food.
That's brilliant. There's lots of different varieties in Thailand. Is there anywhere else that surprised you maybe when it came to their cuisine and what was on offer?
And then another place that food completely took me by surprise was China. I went to Shenzhen, which is just outside of Hong Kong, across the river. And then from there, went to Guangzhou, and then from there went to the capital. But each of those locations, the food is completely different from the others.
That's so true. You can have Cantonese in the south and the north, and it's completely different.
In the north, exactly. So part of that, of course, growing up in Brooklyn, the Chinese food there doesn't do it justice compared compared to what the master of of Chinese cuisine is, you know.
Look, I think there's so many things involved, isn't there, when you try food in its natural and habitat in terms of its own country where it's come from. And, you've got to take everything into consideration, the ambience, the local people, the ingredients that are grown in that particular country, so many different things. And some of the dishes we try are not so local all the time.
Yeah, like for instance, I remember the first time I took my wife to Thailand and Bangkok. She was forever looking for pad Thai, and it's not a Thai food. Pad Thai is not really a Thai food. It's a very much an Americanized version of Thai food. They don't. But there is. But if you go too deep into the culture of Thailand, they don't really eat pad Thai. And those are the things that kind of like always captivating me when I'm eating. Like for instance, for me, for example, there are certain things I would not eat outside of that location.
Okay, talking about food, let's flip it over to where you live now. What's the great things to go out and have in your wonderful hometown for local cuisine?
I was afraid you were gonna ask that question. Let's put it this way. I basically stay at home and cook. Let's put it that way. Or we drove. Usually we go eat religiously when we go to Chicago.
Ah, Chicago. Now, they have great ribs. Do you like the ribs up that way?
I love ribs. I love ribs. We are in a culture of ribs where we live, but I guess I've seen so much of it. I don't really have that much craving of it anymore, like I used to. Well, I'm right there by Kentucky. It's like the rib capital of the world in a way.
Look, switching gears now, and we talked before the show about this, and I wanted to get your insights to the situation in the United States of America right now. You're a coloured man. You came there and moved from Haiti to live in New York City. I'm really interested to get your thoughts and opinions around everything that's happening in the United States right now, because a lot of us love the country so much and we want to travel there. So do you want to share your opinions on that one for us, please, Bernie?
Yeah, I mean, what's going on right now is nothing new. Okay, one of the reasons that my dad took me out of Brooklyn was because of police brutality. At the time, the mayor Giuliani declared. You can sum it up on the policy. It was basically war on black men. That's what it was. It was called shoot first and ask question later. Okay. And at the time, there were a bunch of black men that been executed on the street for any other reason. I didn't see his. For instance, there was one guy. He died from 28 bullets for reaching out for his wallet. And they asked him for his ID. How are you gonna get out your ID and not touching your wallet? Well, guess what? He got blasted. So that issue is somewhat for us men of color in the United States. We live that life pretty much every day. As soon as we come to age of maturity. So meaning that as soon as we're like 16 years old, that reality is imprinted in our brain. In fact, it comes to a situation where every time we pull over, we like, oh God, what did I do wrong now? And it not only it angers us, but the thing is we are also in fear. Some of that anger is not it's not even anger, it's fear. It's fear because we don't know if we're gonna die, we're gonna survive, or if we're gonna end up somewhere. And that's what been displayed every time you see those guys being kill and whatever we see on camera, that's what's going on in our head. So having said that, what's going on right now is a situation that had never had a deep meaning conversation within the American politics. So the American politics has been, oh, we're just gonna pay these people off and then we're gonna move on to our life. Versus what's going on now, the especially the young people, and I applaud them. We want to deal with this now. We want to solve this issue now. We want to resolve it now. No one is really not saying other people's lives doesn't matter. We're not saying that at all. We're not claiming that Asian don't matter, white don't matter, other race don't matter at all. We are saying simply that why are we being killed at a faster rate? Why are we the one that we are being targeted, for those type of behaviors? And we have enough of it. Can we have a conversation? We're not even demanding to stop. We are like, can we have a conversation?
So a conversation's one thing, but what are your thoughts around the violence and the looting that's going on? Surely there's got to be a better way to do it than that. I agree with you. I think, there needs to be a conversation, but how do we make sure, or how does everybody involved in this process make sure that this violence and this looting doesn't continue?
I was in Paris last year. You remember the yellow vest protesters? You remember them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was a lot of looting. And they are protesting for the fact that the president or France decided to move the retirement age to two more years of work. So it's not so much I'm encouraging violence or anything like that, but when you take the time, you don't want to listen to a very frustrated group of people that have been for us in the United States. It's been going on God knows how long now. I've been experiencing it for about 30 years of my life. I'm 44 and I've been living in the United States for 30 years since I was in Brooklyn. And I can tell you every incident that took place. And we come to a situation where we not only we're frustrated, we're like, that's enough. There's no guarantee for me to live another life. So I'm gonna destroy whatever I can in order for you to listen, to make you listen, especially you that are part of that government body that forever putting this madness into the back end. You never want to face that madness. And to be quite honest with you, if they don't want to deal with it now, it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse and worse.
But let's face it, violence never achieves anything good, right? There's a way and a means of being able to get your message across, get solutions or new solutions developed and put into place and agreed upon. I don't believe that there's ever been a great outcome because of violence.
Violence never really achieved anything good in this world. And in fact, violence turned out to be repeating itself. Okay? However, people have used it in a way to grab attention. And unfortunately, when you're looking at the demographic of the African American community in the United States, what been plaguing to them over the past, I'm not even gonna go as far as like 400 years of history. It comes to a situation you like, what do you want us to do in order for you to understand and for us to obey? We've been obeying everything that you have given us. There's only one thing I'm asking you to respect, and you're not. You know, I'll be honest with you. You know what? One thing that took place that, and I forever embrace some of my friends that I went to high school with. You know, some of them today, as we speak, they are chief of police in Brooklyn. And I was discussing it to some of them today too. What if we encouraging the young people that are living in those communities to become police officers themselves, or maybe some type of embodiment to police their own community, you know, and also to educate other police officers that are not from those communities. Oftentimes they are coming from a background, they don't have any education at all as far as what is like to be living in those communities. You know, they don't, because all they know is the fact that, oh, these people are savages, these people are murderers, these people are, that all that, it does play in the psyche of the police officers that are policing those areas. Of course, ultimately he's thinking about how I'm gonna survive this. I want to go back to my wife and kids. I don't want to be dead in the hands of these people, you know, because the narratives that have been played around the world is the fact that African Americans, especially black men, we are killers, robbers, criminals, and so on and so on. So therefore, that picture paint a very nice picture into the mind of that police officer that are in our neighborhood. But what if we train our own local people in that own area to do the job as well, and at the same time, you know, engaging in community activities, you know, that not only engaging people to sustain those communities, but at the same time, the whole shaming of those communities because they are black or brown or whatever they are need to stop as well in the TV scene.
So, what do you think are some of the solutions that can be put in place to work this through in a more, political environment, business environment? How can it be moved forward?
I would say definitely one, form a community leadership, okay, where we can have one central source of communication, because right now what's going on, everybody have an input, okay. You have some people are taking out defunding the police, some people are claiming that, okay, there's too much going on. New York just passed laws, a bunch of them, to see what they can do. But at the same time, what's really happening, each states are coming with their own solution, which is not right. I think we should have a one governing appointed leadership that can know on how to articulate the laws and the do's and the don'ts, okay, and how to protect not men of color or brown people, but at the same time, where the police officers also can do their job, you know, in a way that it's not gonna be harmful to them as well.
People got to come together and talk through all these solutions in a way that you're going to get outcomes that are positive and that something's actually going to happen.
Of course, of course, and unfortunately, our current president, I guess, since the beginning of his pre-election, where before he even declare he's now been going for the election, he started wrong, and all that play into what's been, of course, other political groups gonna use that against him. Whether he does or do something good or bad, they're gonna use what he did or what he used to say or what he did say against him. That's just what it is. I wish that was not the case.
My little humble opinion is that a change of government's not going to make a difference either, is it?
No. I don't think we can change government after government. I don't think that's gonna change anything. I think really what's really going on is deeper than the government itself.
Last thoughts? What's going to happen with all this situation?
If they are not gonna appoint one body of communication, one body of that can address the systematic racism that does exist in America, what you and I are talking about right now is just gonna be something that's probably gonna be in a year from today. We may have another eruption. That's the way I look at it, because that whole thing been in existence for years, and if we are not going back to solve the problem or deal with it right now straight head on, we think we can just pay off some people and move forward. No, that's not the answer, unfortunately.
Bernie, so thanks so much for going into that very important topic, because I wanted to talk to you today about it. You're a man of colour who's on my show, and this is really relevant to our times that we live in, and I wanted to give you some airtime so you could talk about that. So thank you very much for opening your heart and sharing that, and thank you very much for joining me on the Global Travel Channel podcast show. It's been great having you here. I know we're going to do a business podcast shortly together as well, so I'm excited about that. So people, if you want to check out Bernie's business podcast with me, head over to the Global Business Podcast page and find out what Bernie's going to talk about with his business. Bernie, thank you again very much. It's been wonderful having you here, and we'll see you again soon.
Definitely. Thank you for having me and having my perspective to share with you and your audience.
There we are. That was Bernie Martin talking to me from Indiana in the beautiful United States of America. We talked about his favorite travel destinations around the world when he was both a young man and also nowadays Cambodia and Zimbabwe, getting his tick of the box there for the best destinations he's been to. Okay, so if you're looking for more travel podcasts from us, head over to the Global Travel Channel podcast show website, which is www.globaltravelchannel.com. You'll find all of our previous episodes there, nearly 150 episodes for you to choose from, some amazing guests from all over the world talking about their incredible travel experience, but it's also getting a bit deeper about life and all the things that matter, as we did today with Bernie. Now, I'm going to be doing a business podcast with Bernie, and you can head on over to the Global Business Podcast page. Find us on lots of different platforms there. Spotify is one of them that you can find the business podcast and listen to what Bernie's got to say. He's got a fascinating business and he's worked very hard to build it up around the world. If you love our content, please tell someone about it and make sure they get to hear about the Global Travel Channel. So tell your friends, family members, or even your work colleagues about who we are and where you can find our interesting podcast. I'm going to be back soon on the Global Travel Channel with another podcast with another amazing guest. So until then, my name's Mark Philpott. Everybody, be happy, be safe, and do what you love to do. Bye for now.